The kingdoms of Calidor and Vynar had been locked in a cold war for decades. The two lands, once united under the same banner, had fractured over the rightful heir to the throne. While Calidor thrived under its golden plains and vast armies, Vynar had receded into the shadows, building its power in secret. Eira, a skilled diplomat from Calidor, was sent to the border to meet with Vynar's emissary. It was a rare moment of diplomacy, an attempt to end the silent hostilities before open war erupted. The meeting took place in a neutral zone, a barren wasteland where the wind carried only the whispers of the past. Eira arrived with a small guard, her nerves hidden beneath a calm facade. The emissary from Vynar was nothing like she expected. He was young, with piercing gray eyes and a cloak that seemed to shift in the light. "You're Eira, the peacebringer," he said, his voice smooth but cold. "And you are?" she replied, raising an eyebrow. "Kael," he said simply. "Shall we begin?" They spoke for hours, outlining terms and conditions. But something about Kael unnerved Eira. His words were too measured, his smile too calculated. When they finally parted, Eira's instincts told her something was wrong. As she returned to Calidor, she couldn't shake the feeling that Vynar's intentions were far darker than they appeared. Back in Calidor, Eira reported to the council. "Vynar claims to seek peace, but their emissary hides more than he reveals. I don't trust their motives." The council, eager to avoid war, dismissed her concerns. "You've been cautious for too long, Eira. The people want peace. We must give this treaty a chance," said Lord Thane, the head of the council. Frustrated but obedient, Eira continued her work, secretly keeping an eye on the border. Over the following weeks, strange reports began to surface. Villages near the border were found deserted, their inhabitants vanished without a trace. One evening, as Eira was reviewing documents in her study, a shadow moved across her window. She turned sharply, her hand on the dagger at her belt. "Who's there?" she demanded. A figure stepped out from the shadows. It was Kael. "You shouldn't trust the council," he said, his tone urgent. Eira narrowed her eyes. "What are you doing here?" "I came to warn you," Kael said. "Your council underestimates Vynar. They think they've won you over with words, but they're blind to what's coming." "And why should I trust you?" Kael hesitated. "Because I'm not who you think I am." He pulled back his cloak, revealing a silver emblem, a mark of Calidor's royal lineage. Eira's breath caught. "You're one of us?" Kael nodded. "I was sent to Vynar as a child, a pawn in their plans. But I've seen what they're building in the shadows, and it will consume both kingdoms unless we stop it." Kael led Eira to an abandoned fort near the border. Hidden within its depths was an ancient passageway that stretched into Vynar's territory. "This tunnel connects to their stronghold," Kael explained. "They've been amassing weapons and forces for years. The treaty is a ruse to buy time." As they ventured deeper, Eira saw evidence of Kael's claims. Armories filled with weapons, symbols of dark magic etched into the walls, and maps marking Calidor's key defenses. "This is worse than I imagined," Eira murmured. Kael turned to her, his expression grim. "And it's only the beginning. They're building an army unlike anything you've faced. Shadows that can't be killed, soldiers bound by magic." Eira's mind raced. "We have to warn Calidor." "No," Kael said sharply. "If you return now, the council will dismiss you again. We need proof." "What kind of proof?" Kael led her to a chamber at the heart of the stronghold. Inside was a massive crystal, glowing with an ominous red light. "This is their source of power," Kael said. "It's called the Shadowheart. If we destroy it, their army will fall." Eira studied the crystal. "How do we destroy it?" Kael's face darkened. "That's the problem. The Shadowheart is bound to the life of its creator, Vynar's king." Eira and Kael returned to Calidor under the cover of darkness, bringing maps and stolen plans as evidence. This time, the council listened. "We must strike before they're ready," Lord Thane declared. Eira, however, wasn't convinced. "We need to destroy the Shadowheart. Without it, their forces will crumble." "That means killing the king," another council member said. "A near impossible task." Kael stepped forward, I can get us into the stronghold, but it won't be easy. The council approved the plan, and a small force was assembled. Eira and Kael led the mission, infiltrating Vynar's stronghold under the cover of night. As they reached the chamber of the Shadowheart, they were met by the king himself, a towering figure cloaked in darkness. "You dare defy me?" the king boomed, his voice reverberating through the chamber. "We're here to end this," Eira said, drawing her blade. The battle was fierce. The king wielded dark magic, summoning shadowy soldiers to his aid. But Eira and Kael fought with unmatched determination, their bond forged in the fires of necessity. Finally, Kael struck the king down, his blade piercing the darkness. As the king fell, the Shadowheart shattered, its light extinguished. With the Shadowheart destroyed, Vynar's army collapsed. The shadows that had plagued the border dissipated, leaving behind only silence. Eira and Kael returned to Calidor as heroes, their names etched into history. But the cost of victory weighed heavily on them. In the weeks that followed, Eira worked tirelessly to rebuild trust between the two kingdoms. She proposed a new alliance, one founded not on treaties, but on understanding. Kael, now revealed as a true heir of Calidor, stood by her side. Together, they bridged the divide that had torn their lands apart for generations. Under their leadership, Calidor and Vynar began a new era of peace. The memory of the shadow wore a reminder of what could be lost if unity faltered. And though the shadows had been banished, Eira and Kael knew the true battle was ensuring the light endured.